Okay, so please excuse my hair in this video. Alright, so I got a message over on Facebook from somebody. We're going to call her Vanessa in this video. Her real name's not Vanessa, so don't go hit up every Vanessa under my friend list. But I want to read off a few things that she said word for word because I know there's a lot of people out there that have felt this same way before and been in this same position, whether you're still in it or still not. I'm just going to take out some mentions. Alright, number one, I was in a one-sided relationship with someone. I poured myself into them. They're my priority above everything else I had going on. Rushed to their aid whenever I saw the slightest sadness. Yet, when I needed them, they just didn't know how to hold me back. Gave them everything I had without expecting anything, after I realized they weren't good. And they also realized that they were draining themselves mentally and physically. Either way, it ends up leading on, Vanessa ends up leaving her significant other, and this other person gets mad about it, doesn't like it, completely flips out. And I'm going to talk to her about kind of what she needs help with, and also because the main question was, how do you move on from an ex-lover, or moving on in general from anything and finding closure? And so that's what we're going to do in this episode today. Okay, I want to mention one thing. Now, this can be a problem with a lot of things in a lot of relationships nowadays. I just want to mention it. Number one, she mentioned it was one-sided and that other person was her top priority. Now, hopefully, the next relationship she's in, she doesn't make this other person her top priority. Maybe find a balance just in case she finds somebody who is loyal and just wanting to give just as much as her, and find a balance. But when there's an imbalance in the relationship, it's going to cause turmoil, it's going to cause some trouble. Somebody very close to me said a long time ago, whoever cares the least in the relationship runs the relationship. And this applies to a lot of things. But I also want to mention about how she said that she was feeling drained. Now, I've mentioned energy and the types of people that just drain all of our energy out. Now, when you're with somebody who's just feeding off of your energy, your generosity, your kindness, just you want to do everything for them, of course, when you cut off their supply and their fix, they're going to react and get mad. They're going to show you more emotion than they did when they were with you or in love with you. And so with these people, I'm sorry to say, but it's poison, toxin. And so when Vanessa left this other person, they kind of reacted because they were getting so much love and so much attention and just everything from Vanessa. Just everything that would be good in a relationship they were getting, but Vanessa was not getting anything. But there's one thing that's good that she mentioned was that she has a genuine love for this person still. Even though she's not with them because she was the one that dumped them, she still has a genuine love. Now, that's not like to say when you break up with somebody and you're still in love with them and you want to get back with them. This is a genuine, not a romanticized love. And so this is a very good thing, as this is going to be kind of one of the things that a lot of people need to kind of help, is to have this genuine love. And I'm going to go over that later on in this video as well. But how many of us have been in a place where we've just given everybody the entire world not to receive anything back? Now, we end up learning that this only causes us trouble down the road because the other one's just going to get comfortable. But after the fact of Vanessa splitting up, there was something that kind of bad happened. She ended up feeling bad, and she hurt because she felt like she hurt the other person, which she may have hurt them. But anyways, the problem is that she feels bad for it. This other person made her feel bad for it, and that's going to cause something to happen inside. And so when people make you feel bad, this can cause an emotional block inside, and we're about to actually just go over that because I want to mention something that she said that's very important. And she said that her heart was hurting long before that they broke up. So this means that she already had an existing emotional block inside. Now, I've mentioned the subconscious mind and how everything you put into it is what you get out, and that we've also, as younger children, we're programmed, and that our subconscious programs the way we think, act, and our daily experience, actually. Your day's going to go with whatever harmony reigns within your paradigm. And so the problem is usually in the subconscious. And so what I'd say is that you not only just have one right now, but you already had one existing, which this one just adds on to the other one. See, an emotional blockage can build up over time. An emotional blockage usually starts from something traumatic that happens emotionally or a very negative experience, and it can build up over time, but it can be very small. It can be something that just somebody said to you. I actually know somebody that had an emotional blockage, and this emotional blockage was so bad that it affected the way they talked, their speech. And this emotional blockage came from something that a family member just said to them one time. It could be something that simple that just builds up over time. And so with these emotional blockages, you have to get rid of them. Because if the emotional blockage just keeps holding up, what happens in a river and a dam? It ends up overflowing. And this is why you wake up and you just feel like you could just cry all day or sleep all day. But again, two big contributors to emotional blockages has to be guilt and shame. And that's something that happened right whenever she left this person, and she already felt bad for hurting them, and this person made them feel bad for it, which is just going to add to the emotional blockage that was already there in the first place. Now, before removing an emotional blockage, you need to realize that whatever happened, whatever situation happened, it's not your fault. We're programmed to think a certain way and act a certain way, and it's until we start controlling our thoughts, because we're not in control of our thoughts, and you'll realize that when you see how many negative thoughts you really have in a day. And so you have to realize that these things are not your fault, and that you can take over, and that you can change and get better results in life. And so you must forgive yourself. It's hard for a lot of people to forgive a lot of people. Nobody can really do it that easily nowadays. But I'd have to say that the number one hardest thing to do, well, harder than forgiving somebody else, is forgiving yourself. Now, you can be mad at yourself for hating somebody that did something that is actually wrong. But you see, when you do these things, they add up in the mind with negativity, and that's just going to only get you negative results. So if you keep waking up every day the same way, if you keep acting out almost the same week over and over again emotionally, it has to do with this subconscious emotional block, and so you have to get rid of it. But you must first forgive yourself for whatever you did, and you may have to sit and think. You may have to think back to when you were like 4 years old. As I said, somebody had an emotional blockage from something that a family member said to them, and this was when they were like really young, like around the age of like 6 or 7. These things can be simple. I cannot tell you what your emotional blockage is necessarily, but the best person that's going to figure out what that emotional blockage is you. And so you have to sit with yourself at some point, and you have to go within. And as I've said, know yourself. Because once you can figure out what this is, that's one of the first steps to getting this. So I'm going to explain kind of how we fix this. Now, before I mention that, I want to mention two good things about you, Vanessa. Number one, you still have a genuine love. That's a good thing. And number two, you recognize the emotion. You recognize the problem at hand right now, which is actually the first step to removing the emotional blockage. A lot of people will ignore their emotions. They're said to just put them down and suppress them, and that's another source for emotional blockages, is just suppressed, pushed down over and over, just pushed into the closet shut. And one day the closet door is going to come busting open. You're not going to know what to do. You're going to be at the lowest part of your life, rock bottom, whatever you want to call it. But it's good that you've recognized the problem, at least for now, unless you are thinking that there's another emotional blockage. Now, that's the first step, is to recognize what the emotional block is. You already know what's going on to an extent, I hope, and also you recognize that what your emotions are doing. You understand that there's a problem at hand, and you know what it's sort of dealing with at the moment. And so that is a great first step to doing it, because a lot of people, as I've said just a minute ago, push their emotions away, and you can't do this. And this is why I repeat it a second time, because I want to stress this. Step 2, as we already went over, is to forgive. Not only forgive yourself, but also forgive those people that you might just be really mad at, because this hate, this turmoil, all those negative things inside of you add up to these things, and you have to get them out. You've just got to get them out, or otherwise you're going to get bad results, and you're also not going to get rid of the emotional blockage. Now, the next thing to do, the third step, is to confront it. And how do we confront it? Now, there's 3 ways that I will confront it. Either with number one, identifying the block, as I've said. You recognize it, but you need to kind of zoom the camera in, figure out the seed, the very source, down to the very word that it might have been, or the situation, or maybe even there was a song playing while this thing happened, whatever traumatic experience happened. Identify it. Number two, understand that it's not your fault. Understanding that it's not your fault separates you from that situation mentally, and therefore you are able to confront it rather than feeling like the problem and being in the problem. Step aside, understand it's not your fault, and that way you can confront the problem. And the third way is to look at it in a different perspective, either through just watching this video, because you might not have heard the things that I'm kind of saying about the problem. Also, you could go to a friend, not a friend that you've talked about this problem before, but find somebody new and kind of discuss and get some perspective on it. Look at the problem in a new light, and this is how you can confront it way easier. Now, don't dwell in the problem. Don't be talking about the problem all the time to the point that that's all that's going in your mind, because that kind of has to do with the next step that we're going into, which is the fourth one, which is clearing it. Now, with clearing it, this is going to be a majority of how to fix it. This is going to be a big chunk. I wouldn't say a majority. I take that back. But a good 40% of it. Now, I've said that the outside world is a reflection of what's going inside, and what's going inside is a reflection of what's coming in on the outside. Now, we understand that because we also understand that what's going in the mind will eventually come out through the law of synchronicity, and what you're putting into your head is what you're going to feel. And so you've got to change the subconscious programming so that you don't live in that harmony with that negative state. You aren't always coming back to this one place, back to square one. See, that's what the paradigm will always do. It'll always pull you back to square one. And so the first way to clearing it is through reflection. Look at your environment. Actually, physically the environment. Look at your home, your workplace. Is it clean? The first step I would say to do is to clean up your environment physically, and then also whatever you're putting into your head through whatever you're watching, whatever music you're listening to. You're going to want to kind of be stingy about what you let in your head for now while you're trying to get rid of the subconscious block. You don't want to add salt to the pot while you're trying to sweeten it. And so, as I've said before, also filter in the conscious positive and negative thoughts. If it's positive, say out loud or in your head, I accept that thought. If it's negative, I reject that thought. And so, reflection. Notice the outside as well as the inside. Now, the second one is to remember, as I've said, the perspective of the mind. Now, that's what I just mentioned in the step 3, confronting it, and how if you look at it from different perspectives, you can kind of confront it way easier. But when I'm saying look at it in another perspective, I'm meaning don't judge your emotions. Don't look at your emotions as good or bad, but just as is, and live in the present and understand that it's just happening. Now, this is an easy way also to pull yourself from that, getting rid of the emotional block way easier. Another way is to just get over your current self, and not just get over it, but just trash it, leave it aside, and discover your new or true self. Now, Vanessa, this is something that's going to really help you, and I know that one didn't really sound like a lot. It was like, wow, what a pushover, advice. But I'm for real, because you said that you were making them your top priority. You were throwing yourself at them. This one's going to help you the most, because once you throw yourself at you and you learn about you, and you just have more time for you. Now, this isn't a selfish thing, because you might just be sad because you've been emptying your cup of water for everybody else, but you haven't had time to fill up with abundance yourself. So discover yourself. Figure out who you are. Spend some time with yourself. Figure out things that you like that you never thought you liked. Go out and discover. And that kind of has to do with the next way that you can also clear an emotional block. Is something that I've preached before, and I've made a picture on Instagram about it. Do something new today. Go out and do something new. Talk to somebody new. Meet new people. This will not only help clear it, but it'll also distract your mind from it, moving you farther away from it, and also at the same time make you happier. Now, don't hang around the wrong crowd. I can't judge the wrong crowd for you. That's for you to do. Now, I know I've also said don't judge, but also you should discern. if you're going to go to a bank to take out a loan, one of the banks is just completely trashed out. One looks really nice. You find out it's got, good APR, this and that and the other, whatever. You compare. So whenever you go out and you're trying new things, don't just go for the first thing you think of. Kind of, as I've said, discover yourself and go around, meet new people, go do new things, go try new foods, go travel new places. This is something that makes a lot of people happy. This is why people travel. Like, they love to travel because it makes them happy. Seeing new places, just in the awe of it all. Now, another way is affirmations. Now, this is the slowest way to do it, but I have to put it here because affirmations work. They do adhere to, the laws of manifestation. I mean, it works. So just telling yourself, that you're doing fine. Like, I am doing well. I am over it. I am whatever your affirmation should be. Leave out the negative words. Don't put don't, not, can't, won't, nothing like that. And so affirmations is another thing that does work. It's the slowest way, I'm not going to lie, but it does work. So just adding it to it, even if you only say it 10 times right before you fall asleep in bed with your eyes closed, that does help a lot. And now the sixth way you could clear it is a meditation exercise that I give. Now, if you don't know how to meditate, number one, research. And go find out something that works for you. Look at it in a different perspective other than just hearing it from me. You can also go to my last videos on visualization, and I give you kind of a beginner's way to get into meditation. Now, the instructions for this meditation start after you've already gone into trance. So you're in meditation, and take whatever your subconscious block is, put it into a symbol. As I've said, the subconscious mind reads in symbol. And so, if you want to get rid of the subconscious block, you can meditate, go right over there, and rip out the problem. This is going to be the easiest way to do it, and it's going to work very well. And so, take whatever it is, put it into a symbol of any kind, a picture. It can be, you can look at an apple and maybe that just represents whatever it is. Whatever you want to visualize, even if you want to visualize that you're at the place that you were that caused the emotional block, you can. Just visualize it and keep it one image, and you've got to hold it. You got to hold it in your mind for a good 10-15 minutes. Now, while you're holding it in your mind for a good 10-15 minutes, you need to realize within yourself that it's not your fault. You need to feel yourself separating from it. You need to feel the negativity. View black smoke coming from you and feeding into the symbol of whatever the block is. This is something that helps the mind once you visualize these things. And so visualize the black smoke coming out. Visualize the negativity leaving you, pulling you away, making the subconscious block move farther. Now, once you've held this in your mind for a good bit and you've removed yourself and you start to feel good, you start to feel it inside, watch it go up in smoke. Just watch it just fade away into smoke. And once you do this, this is symbolic. It's all symbolic. That's the point of all of this. That's the point of, this is how you get your manifestations to come about, is through symbols. And so once you do this meditation and you kind of condense that whole situation, that block, into the symbol, and you just burn it away, you'll notice quick that you're already moving on. It's already happening. Now, doing all these things will solve a great majority. Actually, really just all of it. And now, before I go, wait, Hayden, what, you're bullshit. You never answered the initial question. How do I move on and find closure? Okay, there's tons of videos on that specifically. I wanted to go over something that you just won't hear in every single video, but I'm telling you this, truthfully, that if you do all the things that I mentioned in this video, before you've even removed the subconscious block, you're going to realize you've already moved on and found closure within yourself. I will for you all to prosper. If you want to watch my last video, check it out right there. Click here to subscribe, and I'll just throw something cool right there. I will for you all to prosper. I forgot. I think I already said it. Yeah, goodbye.